Hello, world. What is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte. We are here live at the Build Studio in New York City. This year marks the 40th anniversary of Cosmos, the most watched science program ever in history. Not only that, it returns tonight, March 9th at 8/7 Central on National Geographic for a third all-new spectacular season. And our next guest is once again at the helm of the infamous ship of the imagination. Joining me now, please welcome the great Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil, how are you doing, sir?
Thanks for having me back.
Oh my God, of course.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
we went...
You call the ship of the imagination infamous.
Oh, is it not?
Famous for bad reasons.
Oh, is infamous is famous for a bad reason? Yeah, you're right.
December 7th, the day they will live in.
Infamy. That's correct.
Yeah, now maybe, because I was wondering if you had attended the Comic-Con where they did the Spaceship Smackdown. I don't know if you've ever been to Comic-Con.
I have been by
San Diego, the last session is the Spaceship Smackdown. And people argue that line up every spaceship there ever was in all science fiction. And one of those years, the ship of the imagination won.
Did it really?
Yes, it did.
That's
so it's infamous because it beat out the Millennium Falcon and all the rest of this.
Thank you for making my
and the
obvious
Enterprise.
error.
Yeah.
Actually, not an error at all, but totally intentional. I was aware of that story. I knew that, and that's exactly what I was referring to when I used that word. Neil, I'm so excited you're back, sir. It's so great to have you here again.
Thanks.
And I'm excited this show is back as well. It's been a couple of years since we last saw you at the helm of the famous ship of the imagination.
No, 6 years, 2014.
6 years.
And before that, it was 34 years. So we're narrowing the gap.
Better, okay, you're tightening it up. But it's crazy. The show is so phenomenally successful and so beloved. Why 6 years? I guess is the question. What happened?
It's a matter of the richness of the storytelling and the how carefully the visual effects are seamlessly blended into the science. You know, with state-of-the-art special effects, you can do one of two things. You can say, here's something we used to do and it was kind of okay, but now we can do it better. Right. Another one is, here's some special visual effects where we could never do this before. So now there's something that you've never seen. And so in this incarnation, there's a whole episode where we actually go inside the quantum realm. And that's, by the way, that counts as another world.
Yeah.
All right. The subtitle is Possible Worlds. And when you read this, it's, for me, I actually well up because it's like, oh, there's hope. Yeah. Finally, it's not, we're all going to die. Right. No, it's maybe there's some lessons in here to learn, some wisdom to glean, some insights to obtain from the storytelling. And what has distinguished, you didn't ask this, but let me just put it out there. Please put it out. I think what has distinguished Cosmos from any other documentary, because when you're watching this, you're not saying to yourself, I'm watching a documentary and I'm sitting down and I'm obeying. No, that's not the feeling. So what's going on here? Well, I think the secret sauce throughout all 3 episodes has been Ann Druyan, who's executive producer, co-writer. It's her baby, and she knows what it needs. She knows what you want as a viewer. She's emotionally fluent. She's scientifically literate, and so yeah, you can team together any bunch of scientists, and we can lay down, oh, we should talk about this or that or the other. But since she emotes the universe, you can take the content and put it together with ways that content can reach inside you and capture your soul of curiosity and of interest and of mission statement. So Possible Worlds is not just, is there an exoplanet we might visit when the sun dies? It's also that.
Yeah, that's there too.
That's there too. No, we didn't leave that one out. Yeah. But it's also, here's a path we could take from inaction on Earth, that's a world. Here's a path we could take from the wrong action, that's another possible world. Or here's one that we can take where we have learned to become wise shepherds of the civilization that we have built. Ones where our descendants will be proud of us rather than embarrassed by us.
the beauty of this series, all the things you just said, but also it could conceivably go. You could make this forever. There is no shortage of incredible stories to tell. When do you? Because Ann is a phenomenal storyteller. She has a beautiful companion book.
Yes.
That goes along with this, and I loved reading that because it goes a little further than you get to go within the format
the
of
extra.
TV. Yeah, it's like the
but don't be
features.
like the book person.
No.
I saw the movie, but the book was better. I don't need to hear it.
No, but I'm not saying it was better. But what I did love was reading all the little.
But you agree, they always say that in the movie theater.
It's true. That's absolutely true. Everybody says that.
They're
the
annoying ones in the movie theater, not me calling out a few errors here and there. No.
You are famous for that, by the way.
Now you can say infamous. That's allowed.
You are an infamous movie critic in that regard.
Yeah.
We'll get to that because I have a question about that a little bit later. But what I wanted to get to is that, yes, the show, it's optimistic. It inspires awe. You don't even realize you're learning. It's just beautiful. And it reminds me a lot of when I was younger and I'd go to Epcot Center and I'd go on a ride that I thought was just a crazy ride, but I learned something through that experience going through that ride. And it's the same thing, the music and everything. It's very theatrical, but you learn so much.
Yeah, it's theatrical, it's cinematic, and also a very important element in this is if those who saw the 1980s incarnation of this, the first, you would remark of Carl Sagan's sort of fireside manner, right? At no time were you saying, well, he's lecturing to me. It's odd that while you're in college, lecture is an okay thing. I got to go to my lecture. After college, don't lecture me. Stop lecturing me.
I'm done with the lecturing. I know everything I need to know now.
Right. So you don't want that if you're trying to attract people to who on their own initiative want to sit down and drink in the universe. And so in this, as I'm sort of the ship of the imagination, I'm at the helm, one of the taglines is, come with me. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I got chills. You can't tell I'm wearing goosebumps. It's under the blazer.
Right. Yeah. Come with me, right? And so I'm not ahead of you. We're side by side as we explore the universe.
I read a really interesting article. I forget if it was from 6 years ago or from this one, but where they talked to you about, and I was very careful with that language I chose deliberately, at the helm, not captain.
Exactly. Thank you for doing it deliberately.
Yeah.
Plus, there are no controls, so it's not as though I was trained in Starfleet Academy to know what button to push and what not. Because when you walk by a cockpit of any vessel, it's impossible. You don't know what you don't know except the red button with the flip cover. Don't push that button.
That is universal.
That one, we got that one.
Transcend.
We got that.
Languages.
All the other buttons, where do they come from? So without the buttons, the ship basically emanates from my thoughts as your guide. And that way, once you've done that, you're not distracted by it.
Yeah.
Just we're doing this. We're moving through space and time, changing size, of course, going down into oceans. Over the rings of Saturn, we take you everywhere.
Everywhere. Last time you were here and we got a chance to chat, you kind of blew my mind. You opened the door a little bit and pulled the curtain back and said, when I give a talk, I'm you now. And you said, when I give a talk, I'm looking at the crowd, I'm reading the faces in the audience, I'm gauging their response, the age of all these things, all this data that you're parsing while you give a talk. Has it been challenging to adjust that, to not have those faces, to give these kinds of talks to a camera?
That's a really perceptive question, and I went through that angst now 15 years ago about that when I hosted the spin-off of PBS Nova. It was called Nova Science Now. That was my first time in any kind of sort of significant TV gig. And there I am, and I say to myself, I'm looking at a camera lens. And there are a million people on the other side of that camera lens, and I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know are they looking bored? Are they reading a paper? Are they, I don't know. Whereas one-on-one, I have all that information. It was very frustrating for me. Initially, I had the producers draw little smiley faces on 3M sticky cards so that I can pretend there was an audience so I can at least interact with something. Yeah. So the way I evolved was to say to myself, I need to know in advance what might be the reaction to someone for anything I could possibly say. So as I'm in the street or I'm on the airplane and I get stopped and I get asked, what's before the universe? What's dark matter? Is there God? All these questions. that come organically from random passersby. I store in my head what I say and what their reaction is on the street, so that if I hit that material in a camera lens, I want to hit it in the same way. I want to deliver it in the same way to assure that I can get that same kind of reaction.
So are you
So
yeah, I was going to say
in summary, it's hard. And in fact, because I'm a big consumer of comedy and stand-up comedians, if there's a stand-up comedian that gets a lucrative gig on a TV sitcom, and then they go back to stand-up, they don't have it. No, something's missing. Yeah. They'll talk and they assume they're going to get the laugh, and they don't get the laugh because the laugh track on the sitcom works for you every time. Exactly. So yeah, they don't always return to stand-up.
And you found that you're able to catalog all that and hold on.
Oh, yeah.
Do you journal or anything? How do you maintain, or does your brain just, that's a gift you've always had, that you can lock that down and recall that at any moment?
I would just call it memory. Is memory a gift?
Okay.
Do you not have memory?
Neil.
Do you not have memory of things?
That's a lot of memories to organize,
store,
and recall.
Let me put it a different way. It's not that there's a lot of memories, of course, which it is. Is it more than memorizing all the lines on a Broadway play that an actor comes out and performs? Is it more than what anybody knows in their profession? You know, if even, let's take sports, a football player. A quarterback, are we saying, I have to memorize so many things, I don't know, my head's going to explode? No, it's their job, okay? It's what you're here to do.
And
when I was a kid, when I saw musicians sing 10 songs in a row, I kept saying, wow, how do they remember all those words of all those songs? Because I couldn't, I remember 3 songs or something, and I remember, that's their job. They're paid to this. So if I want to be good at what I'm doing, you'll focus on it. And so I focus on, but I'm glad that for not being on the spectrum, I can pay attention to body language. When you're on the spectrum, that's kind of far, you're no different from a chair, right? You just the voice happens to be coming out of your body. So if you don't see that, then you won't be able to reference it and communicate with it. So I think I have that ability. I might even have room for improvement there. And that's what I exploit.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I guess.
Great question.
Well, for me, it was coming from one of the things I was blown away by, just being a fan of yours and seeing the interactions you have and reading some of your books and stuff, is the variety of questions you receive. Questions that are within your area of expertise and questions that have nothing to do with your area of expertise, but people just perceive you as a man who knows things.
Yeah, so that's a problem, actually. So that happened with Einstein. Einstein, Nobel Prize, and redefined how we understand the universe. Then people started asking him all manner of other questions. And he may be a deeper thinker than you on that, but no, he's not the expert, right? So I'm very careful about what questions I respond to, if they fall outside of my field or not. If they fall outside of my field but could benefit from just a scientifically literate perspective, I will share that. I'll say, I don't know in detail, but here's how I think about that problem. And that can sometimes be illuminating to people. In another case, I might poke fun at my ignorance of a topic and just have fun with it, and then together you go find the actual answer to it.
How do you navigate topics that you're ignorant of when covering stuff on Cosmos?
Oh, excellent. Perfect point. Let me give just as a lead into that. I'm occasionally asked to show up on the news to comment on climate change. That's not my expertise. So I'm saying, go to your damn Rolodex, find a climate scientist, bring them in.
Right.
Okay? Don't come to me. I'm an astrophysicist. Don't have me as your major source of climate change. We got people.
Yeah.
Go find them. You're lazy if you're finding me because they know how to reach me and I've been on your show before.
Right.
Okay, so there's that. Here, all the sciences are represented in Cosmos Possible Worlds. Geology, chemistry, biology. Right. And when you're in school, typically that's your biology book. Put it down. Now your chemistry book, and then physics book. And so we think of them as separate stovepipe fields. Nature has no such thought. Right. It is one blended expression of the unfolding of the cosmos. And this program in all 3 generations, all 3 incarnations, has done just that. Seamlessly blended these fields. And many of them are outside of my expertise, so we have a panel of experts. Yeah. And they comment on the script, and they say what is right, what is wrong, what needs to be changed. I also have a role of executive science editor. I'm like the last gate before the script and what comes out of my mouth. And so I say, well, this doesn't quite right. I think this is emphasizing the wrong part of the science. It should be this. Can we re-script that to fold this more into the story than that? All these layers of folded information, but we anchor with the expertise of people where that's their PhD.
That was something I was also always curious about, because I know you, and I know your job doesn't begin when you just show up on the shores of the cosmic ocean ready to film. I know you
say that. On the shores of the cosmic ocean.
Goosebumps again every time. But I know you get involved earlier than that, so I was curious where that part of the process begins for you. And so you are sort of not the last line of defense, but one of the last. You get almost a finished script, is what you get.
Yeah, almost finished. And depending on, plus there's a lot of, time is always of the essence, and you do what you can in the time that you have. So, so at the time I see the script, I ask, has it been vetted? Has it not? If it has, I will still review it. And like I said, occasionally there's a storyline that really needs an element of it, but the science doesn't have the significance that the storyline wants it to have. Right. And so I go back to Ann and say, Ann, this is not really working here. And there's usually a little bit of frustration because she knits her stories together so beautifully and so tightly that if something gets disrupted, right, normally it requires a deeper rewrite than just touching up a page. But it's all for the greater good. It's all for the... Plus, in Cosmos, we make it very clear where here's the science where we know, and now let's speculate. We only know a little bit of science here, so let's go there and see what it's like. Whenever we make that, it's a fun part. When we make the transition, it is completely clear and present.
Is it hard to come to a consensus on what that speculation is? Like when you have so many different scientists and so many different cooks in the kitchen?
Oh, no, it's easy. It's whatever speculation works best for the story.
There you go. It's dictated.
It's done.
We touched on this earlier that you are an infamous film critic and that you'll call out, little imperfections. One of the most famous ones, I think I'm using that right, is when Titanic, The Stars in the Sky.
Oh, yeah. Perhaps whoever knows me for film critique would know me for that above anything else, right?
That's like
just the sinking ship, the sky above Rose as she's there on the plank with her dead boyfriend that they only tried once to get her on the plank. Do you think they would have tried twice? No.
Give it another go.
It just was at least twice.
It's timeless love. And take a second swing. I don't know.
I'm thinking. And plus, you look at Matt Damon's character from The Martian. Right. Had Matt Damon been Leonardo DiCaprio in this, he would have made an outboard motor out of the flotsam and jetsam. He would have saved everybody.
He had a solution.
He would have righted the ship back. It would have been a whole different movie. So I called out that was the wrong sky over the sinking ship.
I believe Cameron fixed it.
In the 100th anniversary, 2012 IMAX re-release director's cut. He went back and re-rotoscoped or whatever is the method. However you do that, he redid it.
So I bring that up because, as we mentioned, there's a lot. There's possible worlds. We go to all these different places. We see things that we have not seen before that haven't been done before. Do you get a look at previs gravity? Like, how do they prevent creating something that you will have to then tell them they did wrong?
Yeah, so the graphics are rather explicitly described in the script. Okay. So even though it's pre-made, it's before they actually make the graphics or before the graphics are final, I get a sense of where they're going or where they might misrepresent based on a word here or a phrase there. So I'll put my notes on top of the script, say, note to Viz people, this should look this way, not that way. Or you might be tempted by this word, but this is the word that matters for what you're portraying. So that's how that folds in. Yeah. It's the last gate.
Got it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did it take time for you to get? There's an image that I've seen before of Ian McKellen sitting weeping at a green screen because it's hard for him to. It was on the set of I think The Hobbit, and he was like, I prefer being on the mountaintop. I prefer doing this. Not an option here in a lot of the places you go.
I prefer to be inside the atom.
Exactly.
I can't work this way. Where's my agent?
Precisely. Is it difficult to act that sense of awe? How do you get yourself to perform in these environments that you couldn't possibly travel to?
They were all real. No,
that's the answer.
that's the answer. So no, I'm in the ship and there's a 50-foot green screen outside the ship because every camera angle has to be able to capture it. And I'm there, and this visual effects supervisor comes up with a laser, says, "Look over there," and a star just blew up. Now go. And now I deal in exploded stars because I'm an astrophysicist. So I got that one. I know what that's going to look and feel like. Plus, I'm helping him adjust what colors they are. Because while it's happening, the camera on my face, yes, I have to be illuminated while that's happening in the colors of what they ultimately put on the screen. Otherwise, you can't sell your brain, even if you don't think it, your brain knows something's not right. Okay, so I have to actually be in front of an exploding star, even though it's just a green screen. So I got that. But when the ship is small and where I'm hanging around with insects, where he points over and says, "There's a worm over there staring you down. Go." And can I see a reference picture for this worm, please? Because I'm not me and worms. I don't have that one. So I have to be informed. I have to be primed for that reaction. But I totally enjoy it because it's all nature and most of it is the universe. And I'm already there. I have it in me anyway. Yeah. I don't have to see it in order to emote it.
We got to wrap things up in just a second, get out of here. I'll remind the world before we do that. Monday, March, that's today, tonight, it's going to premiere 8/7 Central National Geographic Cosmos Possible Worlds. It's back. It's better than ever. It's fantastic. You're not going to want to miss it. Also tonight, though, while you're here, I was just reading, and you said worm moon. Is there a big moon tonight? Is that happening? What? Is this not your field?
Don't get me started.
No, is this?
No. I'll give you 3 seconds to back out of this. 3, 2.
I'm so sorry. Goodbye, everybody. I don't know.
Okay,
What's wrong?
Okay, there are approximately 13 full moons in a year.
Correct.
All right. Thank you for telling me I'm correct on that.
I knew you'd love that.
I'm just sorry.
I couldn't resist.
That's fine. That's fine.
I just read the article. I'm an expert on this.
That's fine. I'm saying a full moon.
I only read the headline. Go on.
The time between full moons is about 29 and a half days. Okay. So you add those up, there's like a whole other full moon you can squeeze into the year. So you get about 13 full moons a year. Depending on where you are in the world, culturally, what agrarian habits were in place, every moon has a name. Yeah. They named the full moons just because it was a cultural thing to do. The most famous of them is probably the harvest moon. That's the closest full moon to the September equinox. And the saying is that's about when you harvest your crops. And if you have a huge field, if you're wealthy and you're a big farmer, you can, and the full moons rise at sunset and set at sunrise. That's only true for the full moon, which is why any other time you can find the moon in the daytime. It's not like, the moon comes out at night. No, you only notice it at night. Yeah. It's out in the daytime just as much as it is at night. All right, but the full moon is up all night. You can harvest after sunset to bring all your crops in. So that's a harvest. There are other ones. There's a wolf moon. There's a snow moon.
Is the worm moon?
Wait. I got one for you. Ready? Okay. In June, the full moon doesn't get very high in the sky. It's the geometry of the Earth, Moon, Sun system. It doesn't get very high, so it stays really low. And so it doesn't really get out of the layers of the atmosphere that change the colors of things. So when the sun sets, it turns amber and then red. Well, if the moon doesn't get very high, it's kind of amber and red. So the full moon in June is called the honey moon.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
So the worm moon, fine. You want to give it a name? Okay. Just go ahead.
You seem to really not like the worm moon.
No, what do you want to do about it? You go out and look at it. Fine. I've seen headlines saying, how to watch the full moon tonight. Where to find it? It's the full moon. Go look up. What?
In defense of those articles, a lot of them landed on look up. That was They weren't giving out bad advice.
Yes,
it's
thank
essentially
you.
what you should do.
Yes.
I don't regret bringing that up. Thank you so much for everything, for making another season of this amazing show, entertaining my worm moon questions, and all the stuff you do, man. It's always a treat to have you here. I'll say one last time, March 9th, that's tonight on National Geographic, 8/7 Central. Cosmos Possible Worlds is back. Check it out. 3rd season. It's fantastic. Watch it so we get a 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, all right? Thank you so much again. Neil deGrasse Tyson, everybody.